I'm Mara, a 29-year-old data analyst from Columbus, Ohio, who thought I'd finally found my happily ever after. Picture this, a cozy family dinner at my fiance's parents' house, the kind with mismatched plates and the smell of roasted chicken lingering in the air. We'd just set our wedding date, and both our families were there, laughing, clinking glasses, celebrating our future. I was nervous but hopeful, trying to make a good impression on my soon-to-be in-laws. Then, out of nowhere, my world turned upside down. You stole my purse, Mara. It was in your bag. My sister-in-law, Lydia, stood in the middle of the dining room, her voice sharp as a knife, holding up a sleek leather purse like it was evidence in a courtroom. Every head turned, my mom, my sister Jane, Asher's parents, even the cousins I'd just met. My stomach dropped. The room went silent, except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. I felt my cheeks burn as all eyes locked on me, waiting for an explanation I didn't have. Lydia, I started, but she cut me off, her manicured nails pointing at me like daggers. Don't lie. I saw it in your bag, you thief. You think you can just waltz into this family and take what's mine? Her words hit like a slap, and I froze, my mind scrambling. The purse she was waving around was hers. I'd seen it before, slung over her shoulder at lunches she never paid for. But I swear on everything, I didn't touch it. I didn't even bring a bag to dinner. I was too stunned to speak, my heart pounding as I felt the weight of everyone's stares. Let me back up. I'm not the kind of person who gets into drama like this. Growing up, it was just me, my mom, and my older sister, Jane, in a small apartment on the east side of Columbus. My dad walked out when I was 6, leaving mom to raise us on a schoolteacher's salary. Money was tight, but we were tight-knit. I learned early to work hard, keep my head down, and avoid trouble. That's how I landed my job at Buckeye Insurance, crunching numbers and building a life I could be proud of. It's also where I met Asher, my fiance, who happens to be my supervisor. Asher's different from anyone I've ever known. He's 31, with this quiet strength that makes you feel safe, like he's got everything under control. He grew up in a working-class family, his dad's a mechanic, his mom's a nurse, and he's got this grounded way about him. When we started dating, it wasn't just sparks, it was trust, built over late-night talks about our dreams and fears. He saw me, really saw me, and when he proposed under a big oak tree in a park near our office, I felt like I'd finally found my place in the world. But Lydia? She's Asher's older sister, and from the moment I met her, I knew she was trouble. She's 35, with this larger-than-life presence, always dressed to impress, with bold lipstick and a laugh that demands attention. Asher warned me she could be a lot, but I didn't realize how much until she started texting me after we got engaged. She'd suggest lunch at trendy spots downtown, then conveniently forget her wallet or claim she was short on cash. I paid every time, thinking I was being nice, trying to bond with my future sister-in-law. But the bills added up, and she never paid me back. Not once. That night at the dinner, as Lydia stood there accusing me, I felt like I was in a nightmare. My mom's face was pale, her hands gripping the table. Jane, who uses a wheelchair because of a spinal injury from when she was a kid, looked at me with this quiet strength, like she knew I was innocent. Asher reached for my hand under the table, his grip steady, but I could see the anger in his eyes. Lydia was relentless, her voice rising as she ranted about lawsuits and how I wasn't good enough for her brother. I wanted to disappear, to run out of that house, and never look back. But something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to let her tear me down. Lydia, I said, my voice shaky but firm, that's not my bag. And then, to everyone's shock, I started to laugh. It wasn't funny, not really, but the absurdity of her accusation hit me like a wave. The purse wasn't mine, it was Jane's. And Jane, who hadn't moved from her seat all night, couldn't have stolen anything if she tried. Looking back, I should have seen the red flags with Lydia sooner, but I was too caught up in the glow of my engagement to notice. Asher and I had been together for 2 years, and our love felt like the kind you read about in books, the kind that makes you believe in second chances. After my dad left, I spent years building walls around my heart, scared of being abandoned again. But Asher? He was patient, chipping away at those walls with his steady kindness. We'd stay late at the office, talking about everything from spreadsheets to our favorite dive bars in Columbus. When he proposed, I felt like I was finally home. Telling my family was the easy part. My mom, who'd spent her life grading papers and raising me and Jane, cried happy tears when I showed her the ring. Jane, my rock, was there too, her eyes sparkling as she hugged Asher. "You better take care of my little sister," she said, her voice warm but firm. Jane's always been my protector, even though she's the one who's faced the real battles. Her spinal injury happened when she was 10, after a car accident that changed everything. She's a graphic designer now, working from home, turning her sketches into art that lights up the internet. Her strength inspires me every day, and having her blessing meant the world. Telling Asher's family was a different story. I'd met his parents before, a sweet couple who welcomed me with open arms at their modest ranch-style house in a Columbus suburb. His dad, a mechanic with grease-stained hands, had this quiet pride when he talked about Asher's rise at the insurance company. His mom, a nurse, fussed over me like I was already family, offering me seconds of her famous peach cobbler. But Lydia wasn't there that first visit, and Asher seemed relieved. "She's complicated," he'd said, his jaw tight. "She's got a big personality, and sometimes she's jealous of what I've built. Just be careful, okay?" I didn't get it then. I figured, how bad could she be? She was going to be my sister-in-law, and I wanted us to get along. Growing up without a dad taught me family is what you make of it, and I was determined to fit into Asher's. So when Lydia finally showed up one evening, bursting through the front door with a loud, "I'm home," I put on my best smile. She was striking, tall, with perfect curls and a designer jacket that screamed money she didn't seem to have. "So, you're Mara," she said, her eyes scanning me like I was a job applicant. "Where'd you meet Asher? What do you do? You look like you make good money." Her questions caught me off guard, and Asher stepped in, his voice sharp. "Lydia, ease up. It's her first time meeting you." But she just smirked, ignoring him, and asked for my number. "We're gonna be sisters-in-law, right? We should hang out." I hesitated, but gave it to her. I didn't want to start off on the wrong foot. Looking back, that was my first mistake. Soon Lydia was texting me nonstop, suggesting lunch at fancy bistros near our offices. I'd drive over, excited to bond, only to hear her say, "Oh, shoot, I forgot my wallet. Can you cover me? I'll get you next time." Next time never came. Once, she claimed she was short on change and promised to Venmo me later. Spoiler, she didn't. I started to dread her texts, but I kept going, hoping she'd warm up to me. After all, she was Asher's sister. I wanted to believe she'd come around. As the weeks went by, Lydia's lunch invitations became a pattern I couldn't ignore. Every time we met at some trendy spot in downtown Columbus, think overpriced salads and artisanal coffee, she'd pull the same stunt. "Mara, I'm so sorry. I left my card at home," she'd say, batting her eyes while sipping her latte. Or, "I'm a little tight this week. Can you spot me?" I'd nod, forcing a smile, and pay the bill, telling myself it was just lunch, no big deal. But those lunches added up, draining my budget more than I wanted to admit. I'd grown up watching my mom stretch every dollar, so every unpaid tab felt like a betrayal. I started to see Lydia for who she was. She wasn't just forgetful, she was calculated. Her texts were always cheerful, full of emojis, but there was this edge to her, like she was testing me. One day, after I'd paid for yet another meal, I worked up the nerve to ask, "Hey Lydia, can you send me the money for last week's lunch?" Her laugh was sharp, like I'd told a joke. "Oh, come on, Mara, it's just a few bucks. We're family, right? Don't sweat the small stuff." Her words stung, like I was the one being unreasonable. I stopped responding to her texts as often, making excuses to skip lunch, but the unease in my gut grew. Then came the day that changed everything. I was leaving the office with Asher, our hands intertwined, talking about wedding venues. We were laughing about some cheesy barn reception idea when I heard her voice. "Mara, Lydia was leaning against a streetlight outside our building, her arms crossed, a fake smile plastered on her face. Leaving work with your man, huh? Must be nice. Her tone was dripping with sarcasm, and Asher's face darkened. What do you want, Lydia? He asked, his voice low. She ignored him, turning to me. I've got dinner plans with friends tonight, but I'm a little short. Mara, can you lend me a few bucks? I'll pay back, promise. Her eyes were wide, almost desperate, but I'd heard that promise before. No, Lydia, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. You haven't paid me back for any of the lunches. I can't keep doing this. Her face twisted, like I'd insulted her. Wow, so cold. We're supposed to be family, Mara. Families help each other out. Besides, you make good money, don't you? Working with Asher and all. She said it like she knew my paycheck, which she didn't. I felt my chest tighten, anger bubbling up. She was trying to guilt me, and it wasn't working. Before I could snap back, Asher stepped in. Enough, Lydia.
You don't get to talk to her like that.
Pay her back what you owe her, or don't ask for anything else. His voice was calm but firm, the kind of tone that made people listen. Lydia's jaw dropped, like she couldn't believe her little brother was calling her out. You're picking her over me, she hissed. Your own sister? She's not even family yet, Asher. What? You think she's better than me because she's got a fancy job? That's enough, Asher said, his voice like steel. Go home, Lydia. We turned and walked away, her shouts echoing behind us. I could feel the eyes of coworkers lingering as they passed, and my face burned with embarrassment. But Asher squeezed my hand, grounding me. Don't let her get to you, he whispered. She's always been like this. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lydia's words kept replaying in my head, twisting my excitement for the wedding into something sour. I wanted to believe she was just jealous, like Asher said, but part of me wondered if she'd always be a thorn in our side. I didn't know then how far she'd go to tear us apart. The family dinner was supposed to be a celebration. Asher's parents had invited everyone to their house to toast our engagement, and I was nervous but excited. My mom and Jane drove over from the east side of Columbus, and the table was packed with Asher's relatives, all laughing and passing around plates of mashed potatoes and green beans. I felt like I was finally fitting in like I belonged. Lydia was there too, but she'd been quiet all night, which was unlike her. I caught her watching me a few times, her eyes narrow, but I brushed it off. I didn't want to ruin the mood. Then, after dessert, everything went to hell. Lydia came back from the bathroom, her face flushed, and started yelling. My purse is gone. It was in my bag, and now it's not. She spun toward me, her finger jabbing the air. Mara, you took it, didn't you? I found it in your bag. She reached down, grabbed a bag from beside my chair, and pulled out her purse, holding it up like a trophy. Gasps rippled around the table. My mom's eyes widened, and Asher's dad set down his coffee mug, stunned. Lydia, I didn't take anything, I said, my voice cracking. My heart was racing, and I felt like the room was closing in. I hadn't even brought a bag to dinner. I'd left mine in the car. But Lydia was on a roll, her voice booming. Don't play innocent, Mara. You've been eyeing my stuff since we met. You think you're so perfect, but you're a thief. I'm calling the cops. She was practically shaking with rage, and I felt tears prick my eyes. I looked at Asher, who was gripping the table, his knuckles white. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was frozen. Then I laughed. It came out of nowhere, a sharp, disbelieving sound. It wasn't funny, but the absurdity hit me. Lydia's plan was so obvious, so desperate. Everyone stared, confused, and even Lydia faltered, her face turning red. What's so funny? She snapped. Before I could answer, Jane's calm voice cut through the tension. That's not Mara's bag, Lydia. It's mine. The room went quiet. Jane, sitting in her wheelchair, hadn't moved all night. She'd been chatting with Asher's mom, her hands folded in her lap. You think my sister stole your purse? Or that I did? Her tone was steady, but I could hear the edge in it, the quiet anger she rarely showed. Lydia's face froze. What? She stammered, sweat beading on her forehead. Jane didn't blink. I've been in this chair since I was a kid. I can't exactly get up and rummage through your bag, Lydia. So how'd your purse end up in mine? She paused, letting the question hang. I remember you coming over to greet us before dinner. You were sitting so close, practically hiding my bag behind you. Did you slip it in then?
The room was dead silent now.
Asher's mom gasped, and his dad's face darkened. Lydia's eyes darted around, like a trapped animal. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Jane's words had pinned her, and everyone could see it. I felt a rush of gratitude for my sister, who'd always had my back, even when I didn't realize I needed her. Asher stood up, his voice low but furious. Lydia, you tried to set her up. You wanted to ruin this for us. He turned to me, his eyes softening. Mara, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you she'd go this far. Then he looked back at his sister. You've been talking trash about Mara for months, trying to make me doubt her. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to stress Mara out, but I'm done. I was stunned. Lydia had been bad-mouthing me? I looked at her, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. The truth was spilling out, and there was no stopping it now. The air in the dining room was thick with tension after Jane's words exposed Lydia's scheme. Asher's parents were the first to break the silence. Lydia, how could you? His mom said, her voice trembling with disappointment. Calling Mara a thief? This is shameful. His dad, usually so quiet, shook his head. We raised you better than this. Where did we go wrong? Their words hit hard, and I saw Lydia flinch, her bravado crumbling. But she wasn't done. She stood up, her chair scraping the floor, and glared at me. You're all making me the bad guy. I've been against this wedding from the start, Mara. I wanted you to mess up, to show everyone who you really are. But you've ruined everything. Her voice cracked, and for a second, I saw the hurt behind her anger. Years of feeling less than her brother, of chasing a life she couldn't afford. But her pain didn't excuse what she'd done. Asher was done holding back. You've gone too far, Lydia, he said, his voice shaking with anger. You've been lying about Mara, telling me she's not good enough, that she's using me. And all this time, you've been using her, making her pay for your lunches, begging for loans you never repaid. He took a deep breath, his eyes blazing. You even got fired for stealing from your job. Did you think we wouldn't find out? The room gasped again. I hadn't known about the job, and from the looks on his parents' faces, neither had they. Lydia's face went pale, her hands trembling. That's not... You don't understand, she stammered, but Asher wasn't done. You've been reckless your whole life, he said. The divorce, the debts, the nightclub bills, you've been running from it all. But framing Mara? That's a new low. He turned to me, his voice softening. Mara, I should have told you what she was saying about you. I didn't want to worry you, but I promise I never believed her. I know who you are. Tears stung my eyes, but they weren't from sadness. Asher's trust, Jane's defense, the love in that room. It wrapped around me like a shield. I looked at Lydia, who was shrinking under everyone's stares. Lydia, I said, my voice steady now. I wanted us to be family. But you can't keep hurting people and expect them to stick around. I'm choosing Asher, and I'm choosing myself. She opened her mouth, then closed it, her face red with shame. Without another word, she grabbed her purse and stormed out, the front door slamming behind her. The silence that followed felt like freedom. A few days later, Asher's parents called me, apologizing again. They'd made Lydia repay the money she owed me for all those lunches, pressing her until she wired every cent. Then we got a call from her ex-husband, spilling the rest of her story. Lydia's divorce wasn't just about irreconcilable differences. She'd blown through their savings on luxury clothes and late-night parties, even dipping into their joint account for debts she never told him about. After the divorce, she'd been dodging creditors and had lost her job for skimming cash from the register. Asher's parents, heartbroken, cut her off completely. Lydia called me one last time, her voice small and desperate. Mara, I'm sorry. I've got no one else. Can you just lend me a little money? I'll change, I swear. I felt a pang of pity, but I'd learned my lesson. Lydia, You need to fix this yourself, I said. Pay your debts, earn your own way. I can't be part of this anymore. I hung up as she started to argue, my hands shaking but my heart firm. Word got around that Lydia left Columbus, chased out by debt collectors. No one knows where she went, and Asher swore he was done with her for good. When our wedding day came, it was everything I dreamed of, a small church in Ohio, filled with laughter, flowers, and the people who truly mattered. Jane rolled down the aisle as my maid of honor, her smile brighter than the sun. My mom cried through the whole ceremony, and Asher's parents danced like they were kids again. Lydia's absence was a quiet gift, letting us focus on the love that filled the room. Now, as I sit in our new home, feeling the first flutters of the baby we're expecting, I think about how far we've come. Lydia tried to break us, but she only made us stronger. Asher and I are building a life rooted in trust, and every day feels like a promise kept. I still carry the scars of that dinner, the sting of being called a thief, but I also carry the strength of standing up for myself, backed by the family who believed in me. To everyone who's followed the story, thank you. You've walked with me through betrayal, heartbreak, and the kind of triumph that makes you want to cheer. If this journey hit you in the heart, hit that subscribe button and join us. Every story we share is about fighting for what's right, finding your strength, and building a life worth celebrating. Keep standing up for your truth, and I'll meet you at the next chapter.